So, Josh, that vote in the European Parliament, not much of a surprise, I guess, but it all adds to the general mood of uncertainty for business, doesn't it?
Well, I think it does to some degree, but we have seen progress in recent weeks. I think what mattered, for example, in the Florence speech, was that business heard, and Europe heard, a different tone, a more collaborative tone, and a real commitment to transition. We got that, and that was good. And what mattered today from David Davis's speech was to see that continue, because that gives more confidence that things will end up in a better place. And again, that happened, so that is good. But you're right. Now that needs to pay off. Now we need to get through the next phase of negotiations to make that progress on whether it's citizens' rights, whether it's the bill, whether it's the Northern Irish question, because that's what gets us to those conversations about trade and transition. And that's what ultimately will oil the wheels and get businesses investing as much as they can. And every day that we waste now, every day that we waste is wasted investment and fewer jobs created. So we've got to get moving.
What do you think it's going to take, Josh, to actually move negotiations onto this next phase so that we are talking to the EU about trade?
Leadership, essentially. I think there are things on both sides that we need to do. The UK, of course, we need to provide as much detail, as many ideas as we can about those areas. On citizens' rights in particular, we're clear there's an opportunity here for us to make a unilateral offer, an offer that is not dependent on the final deal, and help those people here that genuinely feel like they are poker chips in a game and don't know whether they should put their children into schools or go to other countries to work. So there are things that are in our control that we should get on with. But also, it's clear that this matters for jobs and investment in the rest of Europe as well as in the UK. So we would call on the EU to be pragmatic and flexible about what they define as sufficient progress, so that we can get this stage done and then get on to the conversations that matter for all of us.
It sounds like some in the European Parliament are itching for a fight, though. Manfred Weber, who leads the Christian Democrats in Strasbourg today, said that Theresa May should sack Boris Johnson. I mean, that's not exactly entente cordiale stuff, is it?
Well, I think we've seen from the key parties around this negotiation a change in tone over recent weeks. But it is important from both sides that tone is maintained, because whether it's here, whether it's in Europe, the more antagonism there is, the more different suggestions, different voices that come in and distract us from the task at hand, the harder it is for business leaders to think, OK, I'm going to bet on the British economy, or even I'm going to bet on the Dutch or the Italian economy and make those investments. So yes, keeping constructive conversation going and having that at the forefront is really, really important.
Josh, very briefly, what do you want to hear from Theresa May tomorrow? What would be top of the CBI's wish list?
Well, on Brexit, insofar as she'll talk about it, and continuation of that tone. But the domestic agenda is so pressing. We've got such a live debate in the country at the moment about the economic model we want, about the degree of government intervention. We saw Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, yesterday giving an impassioned diagnosis of the sense in the country that some people have that the system isn't working for them, and a defence of free markets. What we need to see, though, is more details. So what does the government feel its view of the economy is? For business and the CBI, there's a huge opportunity here to move forward with, yes, free markets, but with responsible business as its core and with targeted, effective government intervention. What we need to do is to show that works for people across the country. So moving from words and diagnosis through to action, through to investment in skills, in infrastructure and innovation, so that people start to feel that the system can work for them and not just hear us say it.
All right, Josh, thanks for that.